perfect.
Oh, this is nice. There you go.
That actually is, that
bring
is,
it back in,
that
mate.
is
There
actually
you go.
perfect there. Yeah. That was good. Okay, well, welcome, Lyndon. Lyndon Marceau has joined us this evening for our first episode of the Journeyman Collective. This is like a ragbag bunch of individuals coming together, talking about stuff. It's not a very specific thing. We're not trying to delve into the deep resources of the mind and extracting, wisdom. We're just talking about and talking with people who are talented, skilled, but they're not Usain Bolt. You wouldn't call yourself Usain Bolt there, Lyndon?
I'm not that quick anymore.
No.
Dad bod's got me slowed down a bit.
Yeah, you've got a second coming on now.
Because I don't really know much about you. So you were that quick at some point? He's a very fast
on
man.
the bike, yes, and in the pool, just not on
in the pool.
The 2 feet. Yeah.
Are you explaining that you couldn't
fame is
swim as fast as Usain Bolt ran?
I'm saying 10-second 100 meters in the pool. That's
pretty quick.
That's quick.
You heard it here first.
When did we do that? We did a fantastic ride. You were celebrating your 30th birthday when we
30th birthday. Yeah.
Yeah, and you rode from Sydney to Canberra.
That was 8 years ago. Eight and a bit years ago. Yeah, Sydney to Canberra.
Yeah.
Started at 4 o'clock, finished at 4 o'clock. 2 hours, two 1 hour breaks, 10 hours solid riding.
That sounds horrible. Did you take the Hume?
Yeah.
The highway.
I went down the Princess, cut through not Milton. What's the other suburb there? Audley. Is it Audley? Across, and then jumped onto the Hume from there out at Mittagong.
What time of the year was that?
Would have been November-ish.
No.
Pretty sure it was close to my birthday.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Brutally hot for you, mate. That's an effort.
Oh, well, no, the start was brutally wet and raining and pouring, and then it got really hot. But yeah, it's fun.
So is this all the what do you call that stuff? You bike ride, the spandex, is that right? The tight, that sort of thing? A lycra, there you go, yeah. That's the get-up, isn't it?
Don't pretend like you've never worn any, Pete.
A little bit. Not for the purposes you think.
He doesn't have a bike associate. It's just the spandex.
It's just the mankini and good times, really.
Just talking to myself.
But that was pretty good. Like I videoed that for that day. We went out, yourself and Amelia, who is now your beautiful wife. And we did that all day. I stopping like 50 times ahead of you. Drive ahead, stop. Hey man, film.
It's the photographer's life.
Hey. Hey, see you in an hour.
No, that was a good experience.
I bet it was.
And so now, Lyndon, so describe yourself. What are you doing day to day? What is your profession?
So I originally started out working in media and not anything to do with photography. It was more like strategy, resource, kind of business planning for clients in an agency side. But I just kind of had balls of that, really, to be honest, just working for someone else.
Yeah, because we met originally with Stephen Winnicott, a friend of ours, mutual friend.
Yes.
Climbing.
So I went to uni with Steve.
Yeah.
And Steve was doing the marketing and I was doing marketing as well. And then we kind of followed along the same kind of paths, but he went more client side of marketing and I went more agency side. And did that for probably too long. I don't know, 6 or 7 years, bounced between agencies. 2007, very vague, 2006, 7, I think I picked up my first camera around then and just with friends and just kind of started shooting very casually.
Yeah, like
not really knowing what I was doing.
Yeah, I was going to say, because that's an interesting shift. Like you went from a very conventional, I'm doing sort of a post-university, gone straight into your workforce. Okay, this is where my education has lent me, and now I'm picking up a camera. Like, was there a thing that brought you to picking up a camera and following that?
Well, Dane and another mate, Dave, they were kind of getting into it, and I was like, well, I'll buy one of these things. I'll go and buy a cheap one. It was like $400, and kind of learn how to use it, and then practice more and more. And we started going away on little holidays, taking photos and hanging out, and before I knew it, there was a couple of people who kind of wanted shots here and there, and then you could ask friends to have some photos here and there.
So
is this
then
so we're looking at the moment now, Lyndon. We've got some of your shots that you sent through. We've got like a runner here. We've got some.
All of them?
Yeah,
grabbed all of them.
Yeah, pretty much grabbed all of them. So we've got the runners and lifestyle. So you're doing a lot at the moment, just like lifestyle and what would you call it? Like it's like social media orientated sort of work as well.
So I was actually thinking about this just before. If you asked me what my kind of genre I shoot, it'd be fitness and sport and fitness lifestyle.
Yeah.
So people who are personal trainers, gym owners, gyms themselves, right down to yogis, Pilates yoga studios, activewear brands, and all the kind of brands in between that go along with fitness.
So
it can be equipment based or.
So did you sort of fall into that because you were already in that sort of world of outdoorsy activity and things like that?
Yeah, so it all kind of started through trail running, shooting the Ultra Trail Australia before it became North Face 100 before it became UTA. I got invited to shoot that 2008, I think it was. Alongside another photographer through Steve from the North Face, and then kind of loved doing that. I was already kind of shooting, back when I was just doing my own thing before that event, but that was kind of like the bigger event that I can remember, my first one. And then I went traveling for like 10 months, straight after that, 2009, 2010, I was traveling 10 months solo around the world, quit my job, took a camera with me, kind of figured out that I didn't want to do what I was doing and thought that I might come back and have another crack at this photography thing.
Yeah, so you
worked retail and.
Were you working prior to leaving, like in photography as well? Like you were getting work, weren't you? No.
Oh, I was getting work, but I wouldn't say I was working in it.
Okay. And then
I don't even know how much of it was paid. Like I had my full-time job. So I was just like, oh, you want to come and shoot this? Sure. I didn't, I need experience. Pretty sure for that North Face 100 job back then, it was $200 for the day. That's.
And were you assisting with Mark Watson back then as well?
Assisting Watto.
That's how you.
That was kind of where I met him, and then I went traveling from then, because I already had my trip booked, did that job, and he was like, "You did really well. I can see you're kind of passionate about this, so go travel, spread your wings, come back if you want to come back and come and do some work for me.
Yeah.
Then do so."
So I did. Sort of the majority of the work that you were doing seems like it's all natural light. Do you do anything studio, artificial light wise?
Kind of tend to not try to, not go anywhere near that. In terms of like shooting in studios for clients, like for brands or products, I have and can and do, like in like proper 3D Cyc studios, or I have like a portable background that I can take in if people want like a white background kind of style deep etch shots. But when people say, do you use flash, I basically say flat out no. Yeah, because it's just easier. It's easier and quicker for me to not. So when I'm shooting outside with clients, I think there's one shot of a guy doing a kettlebell swing.
Yeah.
If you set that up with flash, you're going to have to repeat that shot a long time, many, many more times, and probably stage it a bit more than I can. So he's just probably done a couple of sets with multiple swings, and I'm just telling him to move or keep going, and then I'll just be happy with what I've captured and move on. That way I feel like I can capture the movement a lot more natural as well.
Yeah, okay.
So in the movement that they're doing, or if they're running or riding or whatever it is, I just feel like if I set up a flash and I put it here and I tell them to ride here, the whole thing just becomes a bit contrived and staged for my personal style. So I just prefer to let it kind of unfold.
Is there any, we have a dual history as well. Like when I left school, when I was during school, photography was a massive part of my life. And I very much loved it.
That's through your uncle there, right?
Yeah.
Do you think he kind of pushed you more? Or?
Yeah, that's an interesting question.
Like
I thought about that.
Doing it? Or do you do it?
Yeah, so Adam, he will be on this show probably the next episode, and he's a character, and he always did lifestyle, not fashion, but bodies, nudes, everything, Billabong worldwide, Reebok, blah, 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 that sort of style of stuff. So it was never my jam. And so, but I did appreciate the art form, and I very much got into myself. But I was wondering about yourself, like things like landscape photography, I had a yearning for. Like Ansel Adams to my right. you know, and other Jack de Kinga, Franz Lanting, like these people, I was just like just dripping over the books. Was there something like that for yourself as well? Like, did you? Because I, if you do, I'm not aware of it. Like, it seems like you very much were like, I want to change my job, and I'm just gonna. And I really respected and love that about you. That you just went, no, I'm just going to change this, and I'm going to do this now, and you did.
Yeah, I think I just fell in love with not having to sit behind a desk and doing what was kind of in line with my lifestyle, which was being outdoors. And I guess seeing Watto make a living and make a killing off what he was doing. I kind of thought I wanted to go down that adventure sport lifestyle, kind of like shooting events and adventure sports like motocross and the adventure races and stuff. And I tried doing some adventure races, which are fun, and I still do a couple here and there. But it was probably a bit more tough work than I thought it would be to make a career out of it. And same with the trail running. That's why I barely do any events.
Do you think that's a bit of
those.
a byproduct of it being just Australia? Like, we just have a smaller population compared to, say, North America, Europe,
totally.
And the market's just not as healthy with that, and like selling the product post.
Yeah. I mean, if you're in Europe though, there's the amount of photographers just increases tenfold, right?
Yeah.
So your market increases, the people that want to do what you're doing increases. Whereas I don't know how I kind of fell into it, but through the trail network, I met PTs and yogis and what have you. And then I started shooting those, and I was already had that kind of background of training. So
it's a great one as well, because it's niche enough, but really popular enough.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to kind of ask was obviously you needed to know how to capture a good image. Like, no one's going to buy something if you're a terrible photographer. But how much do you think being involved in that industry and being able to sort of slot effortlessly into doing that position sort of helped you in the beginning?
I think it was great benefit, really. I mean, if I went to shoot something I'm not in line with doing myself, say, I don't know, a sport out there, you don't think I've probably shot a lot of mainstream sports, a lot of running, dancing. I mean, it just kind of, after a while, I guess you get to know how the human body moves in certain angles and movements, and you kind of get to know which of those looks better. But it also helps knowing a movement. So in a CrossFit or a gym or yoga, Pilates, you need to know the pose or the movement that they're moving through to then capture the best of those series of shots that you took. You know, there's quite a few photos that you even see in branded catalogs where there's like someone running or someone doing some kind of gym movement, and the potential shot that they chose is not necessarily the one I would have chosen. It could have been one or two before or after. You know, that stride that might have looked better two shots before or one shot after. So I guess knowing that movement as well. Like get a wedding photographer out there to do a trail run shoot, and they'd probably fail miserably.
Oh, that's a great reality show. Like, who's the best photographer? Well, get all these disciplines in and let them compete together.
Yeah, I think you're hitting on something that I've found over the last few years is the amount of people that turn to photography because they have this yearning to do something creative, and the way that they think about it is, well, no, I don't need to learn a technique of painting. I don't need to learn to play an instrument. I just pick up this thing, I press a button, and it captures what I see. And they very quickly realize that it rarely captures what you see unless you actually know what you're doing, and that what you see might be terrible. And that's why I think the amount of people I know that have picked up a camera and then gone, I'm going to become a photographer, that 5 years later are still a photographer. I don't know. Did you say
photographer?
Yeah.
Was that F-A-U-X?
Yeah, a photographer.
Yeah, a photographer. That's perfect.
Yeah, there is a lot of photographers out there. Yeah.
But yeah, just I mean, this is all very strange to me. Just learning that there are people that are looking at the human form so rigorously and artistically. It's just a whole different headspace than I was aware of before. Now,
Peter's just discovered my entire
it's just
career.
Looking at something and going, the movement of this body, and this is, I don't know if it's evoking something.
Well, that's what we're here for. Well, good for you. We're here to enlighten you, Pete.
Yeah, well, this is good. Like, this is tying up a few actually frayed ends that I've been missing. Good.
It's actually intervention. So, we're here to inform you about some things.
I'm just sitting back and going, okay, so you see something I don't. Sounds a bit arrogant thinking that I might have something you didn't, but there you go. This is good.
That yoga pose with Chanel there, you can see how she's stretching back with the leg up. Like, I mean, she knows what she's doing, right? So it's easy for me to kind of guide her into that. But you need to know that that's a pose, and you need to know in the final position of that pose is at its most extreme, I guess. And then if you need to make it look even prettier, again, like you could creatively come up with something else. I can't remember the shot. If she's up on her toes, is she?
Yeah, I think she's on her Pilates machine.
On the reformer.
Yeah.
Reformer.
I think another one too for this, like with this particular image, particularly in the climate that we're making all this in now, the ability to actually make that and not make it a sexually provocative image, make it something that's still very wholesome and good for selling the product she's trying to sell, you know. I mean, again, there's something that you need an eye for.
So, like trying to bring it to that point of this is celebrating exactly what it is without going over.
When you're basically talking about, you know, I think there's a tact that's involved.
And that comes down to your angles as well, and the positioning and the lighting and whatever else you're trying to sell in there.
Yeah.
Because you can very easily go the other way, and a lot of people don't have that finesse to be able to pull it back.
Well, do you find there's any pressure with social media being such a strong force nowadays with imagery, with things that will, you know, just grab attention, and that you're generally going to go along the lines of being a little bit more provocative to grab attention? Like, do you feel that pressure there?
So you notice in my Instagram feed that I do shoot bikini models, and I do more of that than I actually display. But a lot of my clients who are PTs or girls need those shots or want those shots to show themselves, and therefore encourage their clients to, you know, try and attain these results through working with them. So the clients that I shoot with them, most of them will probably have some bikini shots or fitness shots done at some point in time, whether it's with me or someone else.
Do you find it's like a bit of a reticent feeling for that? Like, do they like begrudgingly, okay, can we do some of these? I need to get these ones done because, or are they quite enthusiastic to get those ones done?
I think they're enthusiastic because they get to celebrate, you know, their little wins, or they've been working towards a 16-week transformation, or they've put their own 12-week body challenge to themselves, and then they celebrate that with a shoot. Or I've got a client who's booked in for 26th of November, and she's doing, this was week one of her, I don't even know how many weeks that is, until the 26th of November, and then we're doing a shoot for her. How many weeks is that? Like 6 months?
Yeah.
7 months?
So I'm not sure if I'm clear. So these people are getting...
These people...
let's just generalize this. These people
so there's a thing
who are getting shoots...
There's a thing called a phone.
Are they getting them done for themselves or for any other reason?
Instagram.
I mean, Instagram.
Both.
Yeah,
for their social media presence.
Like their PTs or social media presence, yeah.
Wow, okay.
Or they're celebrating themselves to look back on when they're 70 and be like, that was me when I was young, fit and hot.
Wow.
You're having a moment of complete enlightenment, aren't we?
This is amazing to me. Okay. Go on.
I think you've got a lot of...
We're revealing a lot to Pete today. That's part of the charm of himself being here with us.
Wow.
Now, do you see yourself, Lyndon? Like, where do you see now the future? Like, you've been doing it. So, when did you say you got into it? 2006.
First, I always say my first commercial job was 2008. So it's been 13 years now.
Okay. And and you were doing a fair bit of wedding stuff, and I occasionally did a bit of videography, but not much. I couldn't handle people, and that's stuff.
Pretty much, I'm pretty much there too now. I haven't done a wedding for years. Forget COVID. I haven't done a wedding since 2019, maybe. I can't remember. And the only ones I do would be for friends, really, like friends or close friends of friends. And it'd just be, more as a favor more than money, because the money side of it really doesn't pan out well after you put in the hours of the wedding shooting than the editing.
Would that not be even more annoying to be like, well, actually, I want to be involved in this wedding, and now I've got to be thinking about how to capture it, and I just want to get hammered drunk and laugh with my friends.
Oh, I'm not. I maybe look at the other way. I can go to a wedding and get paid.
How did COVID affect you much, Lyndon? Like, I mean,
COVID was
Australia's.
great.
He had COVID?
I had 3 months off.
Wonderful.
No, I basically flew. I flew to America on this.
I don't think he caught COVID.
Were you in America?
Well,
At the beginning of it.
This time last year, yeah, I flew to America last week, whatever date that was, the 13th of March, for a job.
Just straight to ground zero.
Yeah. Well, basically went to ground shit when I was in the sky. And then I landed and pretty much ScoMo was like, I think all Australian residents need to seriously consider travelling back home.
Okay, so you didn't
shut the flights.
Oh, wow. So you got back, though. You weren't trapped there.
We went to, well, the job, I was actually away on another shoot up the coast for 3 days or 2 days. Found out that the job I was going to America for, which was the Speed Project, which is an underground run from LA to Vegas. These guys run non-stop teams of 10, I think it is.
Yeah.
Well,
what
it's
not literally
underground, being no rules, no regulations.
Oh.
It wasn't a
Make
Cooper
it
Pedy like thing.
like a Thunderdome sort of situation.
I didn't know that there were tunnels between.
I was thinking the same thing. That was shocking.
Yeah, underground running though.
Yeah.
Oh,
So what are they?
Pete's mine.
So
Who gave you this contract?
No.
Just some man under a bridge. That's
Basically, it's
madness.
It's
There's
just
no
like
rules.
It's like no rules.
Why doesn't
You just
someone
have to make
drive
from
and
A to
just?
B.
how many
Flog
rules does there
everyone.
need to be for a run?
Yeah, we've just blown it open. Lyndon, why doesn't someone drive?
Ride a motorcycle, fly. There's a helicopter.
No rules.
Yeah.
There's no rules.
What's that game? Wacky Wheels, or you know the old.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Oh, you win because you stabbed everyone
Your
else.
feet have to stay on the ground.
And so it's the cannonball run of
Cannonball.
the foot race.
Cannonball run of the foot race.
Yeah, Cannonball run.
It is.
Yeah, it's got Burt Reynolds and it's wonderful.
Okay, sorry. Can I
rest
ask,
his soul.
when you say there are no rules, can you elaborate on that?
You have to run non-stop A to B.
That's a
Well, that's a rule. You've just opened with a rule.
But no rules in between.
Okay, right.
Oh.
You just have to run
So
the
you can
whole way.
go whatever way you want.
I said you don't have to go a set route. That's
No.
surely you just go the shortest.
So yeah,
one.
just go the shortest. What?
Well, yeah.
Why are they trying to
Right?
hit it? What?
Oh, but it's underground because you're going to cut through people's properties. You're going to run
There's a thing called the Sierra Nevada. No, to Pete's logic, just run straight through. That's the
that's
quickest
right, that's-
line.
That's what I'm thinking. Straight.
It's
so
a desert
if
and a
you
few
could go
mountains over
straight
the
through
coast.
desert,
A
over
few
the mountains.
mountains.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm seeing why it would be a challenge. Yeah.
Well, you don't run down the freeway, that's for sure, because
Yeah.
you probably wouldn't make it with all the drunk drivers heading to and from.
I just can't help but
Vegas.
think there's like frailing hands or something a little bit more dramatic about this race. That's like Mad Max sort of outfits.
Oh, that'd be interesting, though.
Oh, of course.
Shut
Yeah,
up for a second.
yeah, it was coming. All right,
coming.
I'm gonna back off.
Sorry, and I just remember how to soundboard.
That's okay. So yeah, I flew to America for 2 days, came home, basically. Took the family for a holiday. Ended up coming back 2 days later.
Oh, so you
Saw
were
LA.
Amelia and everybody was with you, and then you. Oh,
Yeah, we took Freddie. He was what was he? 11 months.
Yeah.
Just almost a year.
Uh,
Yeah, we went over.
That's how you make your children stronger. No, you got to feed them those diseases. That's why their antibodies get stronger. Just give them the disease early.
That was it. We just wanted to test the water, see how he endured a 16-hour international flight.
Yeah, that's always fun.
How was he? Was he all right? Did he actually, was he?
It was
Did he manage it?
It was actually so fine. It was ridiculous.
Oh wow,
So fine.
wonderful.
Yeah. So yeah, we landed in LA. Our Amelia's cousins who lived there, we went and saw them. They were like, "You guys probably shouldn't have come. It's getting pretty bad over here."
What
And
was the
everyone back
date?
home was like,
What was the date that you went?
the 13th of March.
Oh shit! That
12th,
literally,
13th of March?
because it was the 14th, 13th, 14th. Yeah, that was the time. Just spot on.
So we land.
Did
I think
anybody at
it
the
was the
airport
13th.
sort of wave you off and go,
You should leave.
there's maybe, I don't know. No, did it what was the
it
airport?
was actually so fine at Sydney Airport. And when we landed in LA, it was like we landed into Armageddon. Like it was just a scene from from a movie. And then when we flew back home, it was even worse. I saw a bunch of our Asian friends in their full white hazmat suits with the full helmet and gloves and boots on, sitting in the airport lounges.
I saw pictures of that.
No, just sitting as passengers.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
I
waiting,
photos of that. Yeah,
waiting to board flights. Yeah.
Just that.
And here's me putting a mask on going, I don't want to wear this mask.
Wow.
What does it really do? And the person who has had SARS multiple times in their countries are just full body suits.
yeah, we've been here.
Look at them. They don't know it.
Yeah.
Is there a distinct moment like that you have back of like, oh man, looking back at that 13 years, like it's a couple of nice, like that was a really good, like not even a singular photo, but just you had an experience while doing your photography and engaging in that part that you changed the direction of your life to, that you go, yeah, wow, like that was awesome. I was really quite lucky to be there.
Probably not a moment that made me feel like that, but probably more moments that made me realize that what I do is pretty cool, I guess.
Yeah.
Shooting events, being out in the middle of nowhere by yourself and then challenging yourself. Like, I think one of the photos there was me standing in the pouring rain through a cyclone in New Zealand. I'm pretty sure the red jacket. That was a 14-hour day of shooting in a torrential pouring rain. And that, even though at the time that moment was not probably as enjoyable as I would have liked.
But you still seem happy.
Now,
it's not like it doesn't feel like you're
I'm just
trying
shocked
to
by the
smile.
fact like you're soaking wet and your camera has nothing protecting it. What did you do?
I gave up. I gave up trying to protect it.
You're pretty good weather
12 hours
sealed.
prior to that.
A lot of the gussets and stuff with the lenses and the buttons are pretty good.
Right.
So there's another photo, I didn't send it to you, but I basically just had a little towel over my camera just to wipe the excess moisture off.
Okay.
But I'm talking like torrential pouring rain, pretty much what we had at Sydney, or you guys probably had some last weekend.
Yeah.
For a good portion of a whole race day.
Yeah. Okay.
But those moments make you stronger, right? And you live through them and have a good story to tell from them.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I guess living through that and enjoying through the suffering, and then looking back and going, this is a pretty good experience.
Well, that'd be nice.
Right,
I mean, I really enjoy hearing people's experiences with hardship, getting out in the bush and, rain and hail and shine and trying to get all that done. And that in itself is quite rewarding, just being a part of that. Mm-hmm. But when you actually do that and you've got an objective of taking photos and getting that all done, coming out of that and having that all in front of you as well, that must be beautiful. That must be a wonderful thing to look back on.
I got to say too, if you didn't know this already, Pete has actually done a couple of that. You did the expedition on the bike down to Canberra, wasn't it? Like Pete suddenly came to me at one point and went, "Oh, I'm going to ride to Melbourne."
Adelaide.
It was Adelaide. Sorry, and I went, "Okay, what? Why?" And he went, "Oh, I'm going to do it." I went, "Okay."
Did you do it?
He bought a bike and he put panniers on it, and
he
did a bit of training and rode to Adelaide.
There you go.
He's also hiked.
Oh, there I am.
There I go. I get the right button.
That's me at Adelaide. That's the day I arrived.
I mean, he also hiked. Where did you hike from? Like Sydney to Darwin or something?
Byron Bay to Cape York Peninsula. That's the newspaper article on it.
I like how you've been branded there, Orange Man's.
Orange Man. Oh, wow.
Because he was from Orange.
Yeah. This is there you go.
They'd never seen someone from Orange.
these little experiences when people like you tell me, you talk about being out in the rain and the horrible things and, trying to keep your head level and, try to continue, lifting yourself up by the bootstraps and just be mentally in the game, which is the whole thing. I just find it really fascinating, people's experiences with that, because I think we all have done it at one point or another. But I think it's wonderful that you're actually taking photos of the whole thing. The objective of it must be really, I just think it's wonderful to be able to look back. I wish I took more photos. I take horrible photos and selfies and awkward, sweaty things that don't really tell a story to anyone else, but really myself when I look at them.
This is why I see Peter.
At least you still have the memories.
Yeah.
But this is why I see Pete as being, like he says, on the sideline to reality, is most people you meet in your life that will do a ride like that, they'll do it and they'll be followed along by a documentary team, or there'll be a reason for it. They'll be raising money. There's all this sort of stuff put onto it.
I did one of these recently as well.
Yeah.
Do you know the India job, Josh?
Yeah, I was going to mention that when I was thinking of a place or hardships and the runs, and you did the Indian one. Well, tell us about that.
A girl I know ran across India, west to east, 4,300 kilometers or something.
Wow.
4,000? And I went for 7.5 weeks of her 12-week trip.
That's extraordinary.
Followed her every day, all day, every day when she was running or just doing whatever she was doing through community. So basically she was raising money with World Vision to encourage girls to stay in school so they can become educated, so they can rise above the poverty line and actually have a life for themselves. So it was basically the premise of her run, and by running through and across India, she was raising awareness and funds at the same time.
And so what was her split?
But
how many Ks was she running at a stint?
Every day between 40 to 80 Ks.
And she just...
With one rest day every week to 2 weeks.
Wow.
Where in India can you remember? I mean, how far up north?
Yeah, turn by turn, town by town.
We started in Jaisalmer.
Does that help, Pete?
The west side.
I don't know why I asked.
How good is your geography?
I'm more asking for the particular climate, because it can be pretty sticky down south and quite cool up north.
We ended up in the border of the Himalayas. That's where I backed out. Basically, I left from there, and then they ran back down to the other side.
Hardship, but I'm out, guys.
Yeah,
that's enough. This is too much now.
This is stupid.
So that was hard in terms of the weather was hard. It was 45, 50 degrees and 95% humidity most of the time. But living with the people that we were living with in a Indian style Winnebago, there was 12 of us at one point that slept 12 or 10 people, and there is just stuff everywhere. I
just want to put a pin there.
Everywhere.
Please describe to me a Indian styled Winnebago. What's the difference? Yeah, I got that part.
Without the luxury.
So a van? Are we just talking a van here?
It was a pretty nice bus given the circumstances, but it was just more living and being around the people and the climate that we were kind of thrust into and forced to be in for the X amount of time. But I mean, the Indians are very in your face kind of people. They don't really have any idea of social distance.
We have a population that large. Yeah, you're pretty used to being amongst each other.
Yeah, that's what we used to say. Like when we were back in the tourist world, I remember talking to people trying to understand the cultural differences. And one of them, when they were talking about India, they were saying, you're in a country of that many people. If you're not sort of forthright and demanding to get everything that you need, you're not going to survive. Yeah,
that's it. It's survival for them for sure.
Well, I think the roads sort of demonstrate that from what I've seen. Traveling on roads of India is, it's quite a well-known thing that it's bloody ludicrous.
I think it was India as well. Correct me if I'm wrong if you guys have heard this story, but there's I think it's a book. It's written by a gentleman that he was riding a motorcycle across India, and at one point there was a guy on the road and he hit them and killed them. And then the family came out and basically said, well, if we report this, then you're going to have to do this, and it's going to cost you this much. And they went, you pay us this amount of money and we'll just pretend like it never happened. And he, at the time, sort of went, okay, what do you want? And they basically said, well, it's better for us if you just pay us the money. And it was something it was nothing. It was like, you're talking like, I want to say it was like $250 Australian or something. Like just not what we would think life is worth. And he paid it. And the people seemed kind of happy and picked up their son and took him off the road. And he then went through, 15 years of the most strenuous PTSD and regret. And, and he, like I say, he wrote a book about the experience, because he was saying that over there, the value of life was just completely different to how he felt it should be, just for pure numbers.
Yeah, wow.
it's very hard to describe to people unless you've been in similar circumstances or like a similar kind of third world country what India is like. So we were basically going through really remote communities where kids had never seen a white person before. Like that's the kind of style of community and township that we were running through.
How did that feel? Like as a a white
well, you felt like a god. Yeah, you just felt like a god because they just would run up to you and want to like touch you and play with you and pat your hair and grab your hand and that kind of stuff. And you're like, don't really know if I should be touching you. I need to like sanitize my hands. We got just because they the hygiene over there or lack of. But it felt interesting.
So
after a while, you get used.
Just pick two of them up and just raise them above your head.
No, I said,
I am God.
So you felt revered. Like it wasn't like you.
Well, they looked up to you just because they were just like.
They were kids, Lyndon. Of course, they looked up to you.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's great.
It was more that they just like would look up to you because they just thought you were a lot more. I'm not sure what the word is.
Well, privileged. I mean,
what
lucky.
Privileged, I guess. Yeah.
What about the adults? What was their?
They would just
reaction?
even look at. Pardon?
Was there any reaction from the adults?
Just more interest, but really nothing more than just vague watching. Just because I guess it's not really, it interests them, but they're not going to, excitedly react upon it. Whereas the kids are like, oh, there's something new. I haven't seen that before.
A total new experience.
What's that big black thing you've got in your hands that is clicking and making a sound?
Yeah. It's capturing their soul really and taking it away for you to devour them later. Yeah.
And did it feel dangerous at any point, aside from the harsh conditions?
There was some point. We had security guards with us the whole time. They both had guns with them and knives. They were running alongside Sam for the whole journey, and especially through some of the towns that we went to. We had to divert one of the days of the run because there was a riot happening. And dangerous? No. I mean, probably because we had all the Indians around us. Like we had an entourage of a cook, a chef, a driver, security guards, the other organizer. So you had kind of those people who were always looking out for us. Never really felt uncomfortable, more just claustrophobic, I guess, with the amount of people around you. Was probably the only feeling. I would get claustrophobic, and not that it was, but that's kind of the closest thing you could describe it to. When you're standing there and you've got 200 kids milling around you.
You just wanted a bit more personal time.
Yeah, well, the thing you couldn't get was your own space. And then the only time you got your own space was in the bus and the toilet, which stank like shit. So that wasn't really enjoyable either.
Yeah. So I guess the question is, are you responsible for COVID, Lyndon? Like you wanted more space, some time to yourself.
Yeah.
And you brought this upon us. So.
Straight into America. Found it, brought it home, sorted.
Bring it back.
Lyndon, it's been an absolute pleasure, sir. If you stay around, it's going to go nowhere. We'll go nowhere without you. And we'll probably
appreciate the time.
Anytime you want to come back on, if you enjoyed yourself,
yeah,
get back on. Say, mate, I want to join you guys. This will be maybe we'll get you on for
look forward to seeing the Journeyman journey down the road and seeing where it comes full circle.
If we ever need a profile shoot, in with a job.
I'm down for it.
Better go to this space again. Good.
Right, Jen.
Okay, mate. Catch you later.
Appreciate it.
Good on you, mate.
You just end the conversation, and I don't have to do anything. So just you end it on your own.
Okay.
Okay, buddy. Bye.
Bye.